Scotland has made massive strides in race relations in the last few years, and things are much better than they were before. But still, frequently I hear people being racially abused and racially attacked and having no idea about how to go about getting justice or how to report it. In this video, I'm going to lay out exactly what you should be doing if you are a victim of racism in Scotland. So before we get into anything, we need to look at legislation, since this is a legal education channel. And we need to look at the legislation in Scotland that will protect the general public from being racially abused or racially attacked. So in general, the majority of racial offences are going to fall under two types. You have racially aggravated harassment, where someone says something racist to you but doesn't actually touch you. And we have racially aggravated assault, where someone might say something racist to you, but on top of that, they might just give you a slap or a punch or a dooning. So racially aggravated harassment, that's prosecuted under Section 50A of the Criminal Law Consolidation Scotland Act 1995, and racially aggravated assault is not actually a specific offence, but the person will be prosecuted separately for racial harassment and then also for assault according to Scottish common law rules. Now that's all well and good, but the truth is most people aren't lawyers, so they're not going to be able to find legislation and then interpret it and read it. And so the Police Scotland and the Scottish Government have kindly released a guideline for how to report racial harassment and detail what type of crime is taking place. Now, reporting a crime all depends on how urgent the crime is. So for example, if you're in the street and you're being assaulted in the moment, well, you could classify that as an emergency, and of course in an emergency you dial 999 and the police will be there pretty quickly. But the truth is, most racial incidents are going to fall under the non-urgent category. So let's say you're walking down the street one day, you're minding your own business, you're enjoying the sunshine, and someone walks by and calls you the N-word or the P word. And then the next day you walk down the exact same street and someone's walking by, and on top of calling you the N-word or the P word, you get punched in the face as well. Well, the first thing is you probably avoid that street in the future. But secondly, well done, you are a victim of a hate crime in Scotland. Police Scotland have three main ways of reporting a hate crime or a racial incident. You can either contact them directly, that is through phone, email, or going to a police station yourself. You can fill out their online form, which is surprisingly quite intuitive. Or the third option, which probably is the best one, you can contact an organisation like Victim Support Scotland or Ethnic Minorities Law Centre, and these organisations are basically going to hold your hand through the process and advise you accordingly. They've also got translators, so if you don't speak English very well, they can be on hand to support you. Reporting a race crime through an organisation is probably a better idea because it's a much less isolating process, and also you can get some legal advice while you're there. So regardless which method you actually choose in the end result is really the same. Police Scotland are going to be aware that an incident took place, they have all the details, and they have a rough description of the criminal. The police then pass this incident to what we call in the UK the Crown Prosecution Service, and they're basically going to decide that the crime is serious enough that it requires prosecution. And so that's when they'll trigger an investigation, they'll gather up lots of evidence, you'll probably be asked to come to court to give a witness statement, and then after a court hearing, that is when the racist will go to jail. Now that sounds like a really lengthy process, and the truth is, it is a very lengthy process. Criminal law normally is quite long, and even though I've just explained how to report it, and in general it's fairly easy to report it, the truth is most people actually don't report racist incidents at all. Now, of course, there's a multitude of reasons as to why people don't do that. For example, they think it's a waste of time and the police won't hear them. They might see racism as commonplace in the UK, and so it's just another run-of-the-mill day for them to be a victim of racial harassment. Or just generally, some people actually just have bigger problems to worry about. I mean, if someone drives by in their car and calls you the P word, chances are it's difficult to identify that suspect anyway, and you probably just have bigger things to worry about. Now, I understand those arguments, of course, but the truth is, governments and the police are only going to take action and solve problems about racism if there's a demand for it. And so if these racial incidents aren't at least at the minimum reported, it means that the police don't think that they're happening, and so less resources will go towards fighting the problem and resolving this problem, which means racial incidents just happen more and more and more. And of course, you can get all the links to the materials that I've spoken about in this video in the description. So I'd always encourage you, if you don't want to report racism yourself, at least do it for the next generation. You don't have to go through that.